It's Viv with
It's Viv. I'm Viv Lee.
I'm not Viv Lou, but I am your host for this episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to another chapter of Future Proof with Forever Labs. My name is Eloaura Zain and I'll be hosting today alongside my co-worker and lab director, Chris Perria. If this is your first time watching, Forever Labs is the world's first biotechnology platform focused on regenerative medicine and longevity. At Forever Labs, we believe your biology is your greatest asset. Whether it's for orthopedic, sports recovery, or systematic longevity, we help ensure that as the science of life extensions advances, you have access to the raw materials, your own stem cells, to take advantage of it. And today we're diving into science with Chris Perria, our laboratory director. With a master's in molecular biology from Eastern Michigan University, Chris has been with us since December 2019. He also dabbles as our photography director, capturing the selfies our members receive once they bank their stem cells. So let's get into it. Chris, if you had to explain what stem cells are to someone like me that is pretty new to this universe and I'm still trying to figure things out, what exactly are stem cells? What type of stem cells do we have? And why do they matter?
So stem cells are what we consider them like kind of like a blank slate cell. They are precursors to all the other cells in our body. Like we have neuronal stem cells that turn into brain cells, and you have hemopoietic stem cells in the blood, and then we have mesenchymal stem cells, which they can differentiate into bone, cartilage, muscle tissue. And they can be found in two sources in high quantities, and one of them is the bone marrow, and the other is in your adipose fat tissue.
Whenever someone is having their stem cells collected, is there such a thing as like a good stem cell, bad stem cells?
There's no real bad stem cell. I mean, sometimes over time they can accumulate DNA damage after years of replicating. That we call a senescent cell. It's not as functional. It's basically on its way out. It's dying. But when we collect the cells, we do some quality control, and I do grow them on a plate, and we can see them and see if they're healthy and if they're growing properly as a quality control measure after we collect them and store them.
And how many stem cells do we have to collect just to have a safe amount of them stored in a bank?
Well, there's so many in the sources that we collect them from that we typically get, over 1 times 10 to the 7th power of cells. So that's, trillions. So we get lots of cells, but it depends on the individual too. Some people have less, some people have more, but we always get at least 1 times 10 to the 7 cells per mil, and we store 8 ml of the cells.
What are the new research and developments that is keeping you hopeful and excited as a scientist?
Yeah, I mean, just the sheer number of clinical trials that are going on in all different types of diseases and age-related conditions. You go back and you could use these cells to heal, joints like in cartilage tears in the knee and shoulder injuries. But then there's also more recently, they've discovered that these cells are very good at helping with autoimmune diseases because they are very good at regulating the immune system. So like dampening the inflammation and allowing healing to occur and creating better conditions for that to happen. But more recently, there's even in the news, there's been, for instance, in the state of California, a medical group was given like millions of dollars of funding to attempt to make it so that there's no more knee surgeries in the U.S. They're going to use the stem cells to heal the injuries in the knee before it gets to the point where knee replacement has to happen. And then there's even other very interesting preclinical stuff where like they took the patient's own cells of a person with sickle cell anemia. They took the cells out, used CRISPR to reprogram them to produce hemoglobin in the proper way, and then reinserted them into the body. So there's interesting stuff like that, combining the stem cells function with, gene editing or in gene therapy.
Is there a condition that you think that is very close to, experience tremendously benefit from stem cell research right now?
I mean, there's a lot of them that are close. I mean, it all started with the very first trials were with wounds, injury to soft tissue. So I mean, repairing heart attack damage is big. There was a huge study where they treated heart attack patients, and previously, the previous thought was that once the damage is done, it can't be repaired. The damage is what you got, and there's been multiple clinical studies where they've able to repair some of the damaged tissue from a heart attack. And same thing with stroke. They say once the damage is done, you really couldn't go back. But there was a huge study where every single patient that got the treatment regained some function. So I mean, there's all kinds of good stuff out there, and it just keeps coming.
Where do you see this field going in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, I think definitely in 5 to 10 years, the laws will catch up to the science, and the FDA will approve these treatments, especially with autologous stem cells, your own stem.
What do you think changed in this field, or in regards of stem cells since you've joined the company?
Definitely awareness, like public awareness, not just, when I started, this was a relatively small field. There's some research going on. There was some clinical trials, but like doctors a lot of doctors, like in the regenerative world, actually there wasn't really a regenerative space really. That's kind of cropped up since then. But orthopedic doctors and aesthetic doctors that now use this, they didn't know about it back then. There was just not awareness, and definitely not in the public space either. Through the years, it's becoming widestream. Like you see it, all the doctors know there's the actual dedicated doctors for regenerative medicine now, and even the public is more aware of it. And you see these people, these influencers online and whatnot that are spreading the word too. So it's just, and now also because of the awareness, you're starting to see more funding and a wider array of clinical trials and things like that as well.
Like we get so overwhelmed with the amount of information that we get and new researches and new products, that sometimes it's hard for someone like me to tell what's hype versus science. Do you think that when it comes about stem cells, we've broke that barrier? It's not hype, it's absolutely science.
I mean, probably online you might still find some hype, but this is the job that these cells do. They direct and promote healing in the body. It's just all we're doing is concentrating them to a higher volume.
Your career, I'm sure you read so many things, books, articles, researches, all of it. Was there ever a piece of information that changed your mind when the topic was stem cells?
I took this job back in 2019, and a lot has changed since then. So it wasn't as common knowledge that these cells were being used in this way, like for regenerative medicine and for healing and disease treatment. And so before I applied to this job, I actually watched one of the founders Google talk. He gave a talk to Google about the future of regenerative medicine with the mesenchymal stem cells, and it was just opened my eyes to a whole new world. I didn't know this was going on. I was so excited, and I was actually really excited to get the job and be part of it.
But there's a third characteristic that doesn't define stem cells, but something they generally have, and that is that they have a powerful influence on the tissue around them. Typically, what that means, especially in this context of injury, it means they can promote healing, they can regulate inflammation so it's appropriate, and they can recruit new blood vessel growth, and so that's why they were looking at stem cells to improve the healing after stroke. And
I know that Forever Lab is kind of expanding, open a new lab in Jupiter, Florida. Tell us about what's going to happen there, and why are you looking forward to working with this lab too?
Yeah, so the lab in Florida, in Jupiter, Florida, we're building we we're building a clean room, and this is going to be the culture expansion lab, and it'll be all done in a clean room under current good manufacturing procedures, which are set up by the FDA. So we're going to be following the guidelines like that anybody that was manufacturing a drug would follow. So it's going to be key for sterility. It's going to be, key for um, quality control. So we're going to have steps in place to minimize senescence, and then also to verify functionality of the cells, where we are going to have flow cytometry, where we can test surface markers that are specific to functional MSCs, and then also as a negative control have look for markers for senescent cells, and then we'll have policies and procedures in place to make sure that all the stem cells that we grow and send out for a treatment will be good, healthy cells.
Why does culture expansion matter, and how can people be excited about it?
Culture expansion matters because we want to grow the cells to a bigger dose. When you grow them, you'll get them in a growth phase, an active phase. So when you freeze them, they kind of go dormant a little bit. And so if you just unthaw them and washed them and used them, it would take a while for them to kick in, and revive themselves. So the culture expansion process allows them to grow, A, to get more cells, and B, so that they wake up and they're active, and you harvest them right in their growth phase when they're the most active. And so then also, during this growth, we can use various quality controls to eliminate or reduce the amount of senescence cells that survive, and only use the growing healthy cells for the treatment.
A lot of people don't understand why is it important, or there's an urgency to bank your stem cells. A lot of people want to say, oh, I can do that later, or I can wait, a few years. Some people want to wait until they get in shape, and it's not a great idea, right? The best time to bank your stem cells is now, as far as I'm aware. And why is that so, Chris?
Yeah, the best time is now. Just because as you age, the cells are constantly replicating and renewing, and going through replications can sometimes acquire mutations, just in epigenetic drift and things like that, that'll make the cells eventually become senescent, which are they're basically dying at that point, and they're not as functional. So the earlier you bank, the younger your cells are, the healthier they are, there's less senescence. You can go to the clinic and just get a BMAC right now, a bone marrow aspiration concentrate, and they'll use the stem cells on the same day. But every time you go do that, you have to have another bone marrow aspiration, or you have to have another liposuction to get more cells. And then also, just every time you're a little bit older, there's a little bit more damaged cells, fewer cells as you age as well. So you just get the most and the best if you do it right now.
Can you just explain to us, like, what happens in the process? Like, what are you looking for when you're seeing someone's stem cells, and then what happens once you send them off?
Yeah, so we get the sample is removed, this adipose or the bone marrow, and it's boxed up and shipped to the lab and overnight. And once we get it here in the lab, we we separate out the red blood cells, because we don't want the red blood cells, and then we isolate the stem cells from the plasma and concentrate them, and then resuspend them in remaining plasma so that they're nice and happy in their natural habitat. And then what we'll do is we'll do a cell count to see how many cells are there, and then a viability check where we actually take very small portion, and we dye them. And so the cells that are dead or dying will turn blue, and we can count what's the percentage of viability. And viability is pretty high. We always get, like, with bone marrow, it's in 95% viable, and you get a little bit less, like 93% in the adipose tissue, just because they're shipped with no blood. Then, just to make sure that they're healthy, we take another portion and plate them, look at them under the microscope, and then that's where we take the selfie. We take the picture of the cells on the plate for you to see.
What would you say are the most important things people should ask or look for when they are considering hiring a service to bank their stem cells?
Well, definitely you want to make sure that the staff is trained and has the proper education and experience. You want to make sure, you want to know how that they handle the cells properly, that they're handled sterilely, and that there's proper labeling in place so they don't mix up the samples. And one way you could do this is you could look for that if they're accredited by a third party that comes in and audits them and make sure that they're following these procedures and that make sure everybody's trained and competent, and sterility and chain of custody is being followed and all that. So, for instance, with here at Forever Labs, we are ISO 2387 certified biobank. So every 2 years, we have a third party come in and go over our records, our procedures, our policies, our training, and just verifying that we are following the guidelines of an ISO certified or accredited biobank. And in fact, we just in March we had our audit and we got renewed for another 2 years. So we are accredited and by a third party, and it's just peace of mind that you know that we're handling yourselves properly and correctly.
And finally, Chris, if you wanted people to leave this conversation with one piece of information or wisdom, what would it be?
I would say that this is a real science. It's not magic. It's these cells is what they do in the body. They heal tissue and direct the immune system, modulate the immune system. It's what they are. That's what they do. It's their function, and all we're doing, it's backed by the literature, the scientific literature. It's backed by clinical trials, successful clinical trials, and it's real science.